I'm going to try to tell you something that I've learned about nitrogen. Nitrogen is 78% of the atmosphere, which means that every time you take a breath of air, you're getting 78% nitrogen in and out. And that nitrogen is unavailable to plants because plants have to have it converted to nitrogen 3 instead of nitrogen 2. The only way that can be done is by heat, or by extreme heat, such as lightning crashing through the air. That creates a little. Or by the process that almost all the entire nitrogen on Earth is done, and that is with rhizobia bacteria. Rhizobia bacteria are a bacteria that is consumed by other bacteria like it, just like botulism is consumed by other bacteria. That's why you have to have it reproducing in a vacuum, because if it's not in a vacuum, botulism will be consumed by other bacteria. So that's why you got to watch out for canned goods. But also, botulism can't live in an acidic liquid, so you don't have to worry about it in vinegar and stuff. But anyway, this is important. Because nitrogen is 78% of the atmosphere, you shouldn't need to buy nitrogen. It should be available through the legumes that are in your pasture. Legumes are more highly desired than grasses by grazing animals, as you can see here. The Korean Lespedeza is eaten all the way to the ground where the grasses are long. And another way of recycling this fixed nitrogen is through the urine of animals. As you can see, these nice green patches here, that's because the horses have urinated in these little patches. And they get that nitrogen from the plants that they eat, which got that nitrogen almost entirely from the rhizobia bacteria that thrived in the legume. Now, like I said, grasses cannot manufacture their own nitrogen. They have to take it from legumes. Legumes, harboring these rhizobia bacteria, they are transpirating it, constantly leaking it out. And as they're transpirating and leaking it, all the plants nearby are consuming it. And it's already in the soil, but it's not converted. And let's see. Our beautiful prairies are there because the animals that migrated brought all that manure and urine from way south thousands of miles and way north thousands of miles, and only stayed on the land for a month at a time as they moved on through. And they moved through twice a year. Well, nowadays, the migratory animals have been exterminated, and the Bureau of Land Management takes all of our public land and leases it to cattle farmers who raise it for beef. And they also kill all the wild horses and all the bison and other animals that might compete with those few leasees who have those cattle. And only certain people can do this. Most people aren't allowed to do it. You have to be in cahoots with senators and stuff to be able to lease the public lands to your cattle. And they've exterminated so many animals, so many things. And this year they're going to exterminate up to 1,300 bison from Yellowstone Park, right in the inside of Yellowstone Park. 1,300 bison will be exterminated. Every year they exterminate bison in Yellowstone because they're not going to let them get out on the public land around Yellowstone, which belongs to you, because the few cattle people who lease that land don't want bison around. Now, the cattle people brought brucellosis, also known as Bang's disease, to the bison of the United States. There were no brucellosis virus in the United States until the cattlemen brought it here. And their constant excuse for keeping the bison from roaming free now is brucellosis might get our cattle. But the truth is they don't want the bison because they don't want for the bison to multiply and bring back the prairies and all. So they use fire and they eradicate everything that moves around out there, and they hope that only grass will return because they don't understand the nitrogen cycle. They kill off all the wild horses and they kill off anything out there that can compete with the cattle. But that's facts.